Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? Welcome to the Relic Grind, Ready Check Radio's Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. It's Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. Yes, we're doing it on Wednesday because Mike's going away tomorrow for his 40th birthday. So we're going to get the show in here. We could have canceled it, but I think we had a lot to talk about. Like, I think some stuff happened this week. I'm not quite sure. We'll check the show notes in a second. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, consider coming over to twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. That's RAIDEO.com. Giving us a follow, telling your friends, showing some support, and head on over to the website. All the follows and socials and all that fun stuff is all there. But we got a lot to cover, so let's get right down to it with the host. First up, Mr. Tarkoth. How are you, Chris Montoya?
Greetings, programs. Well, I didn't lock myself out of my apartment today, so I'm
That's good. I saw you in chat yesterday.
Jesus Christ.
While we had a streamer on Ready Check Radio. And you're like, oh my God, I locked myself out. Did you break your 65-inch TV climbing in your stupid window?
My ninja skills are at 11, so I managed to get around it. And
luckily, you leveled it up. Also on the line, maybe a little angry, a little sad, but understanding. Mr. Adam Lane, a.k.a. Kronos. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm mostly happy.
Mostly happy.
Yeah, we're going to watch the trailer like 50 times, right?
Yeah, we're just going to turn the B-roll on and not talk.
Yeah.
Here comes 56 minutes of trailer for you. Enjoy it, and we'll see you next Thursday on the Relic Grind.
Yeah.
I got another button here, though. What is this? Host
another
4.
Button.
Host 4 solo.
Shenanigans.
Shot on the stream deck here. Brian, a.k.a. the Ginger Prime himself. How are you?
Doing good, dude. I am so freaking excited. When you said 56 minutes of nothing but trailer hype, I'm in. Let's just sit back and just watch that in the back.
Yeah, that's totally what we're doing.
So good.
No, welcome. Good to have you. Thanks so much for being available, and thank you to the missus and the kids for cooperating schedule-wise. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On the newest addition to the Ginger Prime household.
Almost have my whole raid team together, so it's it is like, obviously we're talking maybe like 10.0 when we're all getting ready to raid as a family.
When everybody can grab the mouse.
That's right.
Then we're good. We're good.
We're a controller family here.
Right. I should have gone with controller. You're only known for the controller videos. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And there's only one note here. Yeah. I have every content creator within the community is one-dimensional.
That's all. Yeah. What do you do? I make videos about controllers. How many can you do? Well, I just keep doing them.
just keep rocking and rolling.
You're actually rocking right now with a number of channels right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all kinds of podcasts and stuff. You're like a busy man.
It's been a lot of
your
fun.
Work to Game crew.
Yeah, we ended up discovering instead of trying to fight the algorithm, because I was making a joke that content creators are just one note, and it's and I'm not blaming anybody, because it's I found you for X. I go to a restaurant for the same damn sandwich every time. I'm I don't need to explore the menu. I've already found what I like. And so I'm very much guilty of that association. But we were always we want to talk about other games. And the algorithm's no,
don't do it.
So I was I ended up, because people would ask, how do you get started in content creation? How do you do this? And I tell them what we did with Work to Game. And then they wouldn't go and do it, and then they would never do anything. And I'd always come back and check in on. I was how's it going? And it's they either keep posting the same Let's Plays over and over again, or they would just stop posting altogether. Which I kind of was bummer, because I was it's fun. Content creation's fun. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be doing what I do. But anyway, so I was I'll just do this as an experiment. It does my advice work? I don't, it worked once. And then within a couple of months, I thought, I was okay, yeah, it's growing a little bit. I started kind of actively posting last January, so it's been a year. And within a couple of months, I was already at 10,000 subscribers. And this isn't me pulling from Work to Game. A lot of people would find this channel and be whoa, do you wear a beanie and do you like Final Fantasy? Because I'm getting some serious either Bill Murray vibes, which that's something that a lot of people say, like, is this Bill Murray or this is Brian from Work the Game? And so within that couple months, 10,000, 27,000 subscribers within the first year. So I was like, I think this is this is what you want to do if you want to grow. And so I ended up also then making some other kind of channels on that because it ended up just being like, let the algorithm do its thing. And then just, if I want to talk about X, I might spin up another channel and talk about X and see where it goes. I don't know.
Why not?
Why not?
No,
Exactly.
all very, very well deserved, my friend. I've known you and your content infancy.
We're OGs.
Yeah, we are OGs.
You mean we're OGs like 1.0.
Yeah, you're substantially bigger than me now, but we are OGs. We are OGs. So all 70 million Work to Game followers, come on over.
Yeah,
Check Raideo on YouTube.
Dude,
just
absolutely.
launched. Give it a follow. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We're gonna kind of. I figure, gentlemen, what we'll do is we'll take this in release order rather than the order that these events actually happened. So we're gonna start with the live letter, even though that was basically the end of a busy Final Fantasy XIV week, because most of the live letter contents are what we're about to see next as we venture into patch 5.5. Two-parter, not surprising. First coming out on April 13th, named Death Unto Dawn. And the second part near the end of May, so after the Digital Fan Fest, which is in mid-May. Now, we don't have a lot of info, but we do have this screenshot. Let's start with this, because it's kind of setting up the story for 6.0, right? In fall later this year, we've got the story. So we've got our little council table, lots of very familiar faces at the table here. Where do we think we start? Where do we think we finish? Where's your hype, Tarkoth, on 5.5?
Hype is mitigated by other news, but
we'll get to it, you big sad panda.
Why do we always need to, have a conference room? Like, are we not learning anything by joining up together? And is there just every
time we start something in a conference room, somebody gets poisoned or somebody loses an arm? One of the two. Somebody's gonna get it,
or loses their soul to a whole nother shard. I mean,
that too. But that's small potatoes, right? As long as I got my arms, you can have the soul, I guess. I'm dead inside anyway.
I mean, Raubon's doing just fine with one arm, I think.
He is.
Maybe even better. He's lost a little weight, and he's like,
he comes to the next meeting. You're looking good. I lost 43 pounds overnight. Wait, what?
You had to get out of that jigsaw puzzle that he had him trapped in. Just cut off an arm.
I'm obviously looking forward to them setting up the story. I don't really expect a lot out of 5.5 or out of .5 patches, besides getting a little bit of an intro flavor to maybe a new character we're going to see in 6.0, or most of the time they're for obvious reasons, they're the shortest on the content, because everything big is done or is just about to be wrapped up, and everything new that's big has not started yet. So it's hard to be like super excited, but anytime there's new content, Brian, you're excited. Well,
I personally have hopes that we might start to see like Alphinaud's transition into Sage, like some kind of more mention of it, whether they actively show it off or at some point in 5.5, but to start that storyline, because that's been teased. We know that's where it's going, and to see where 5.5 goes, whether that's 5.5 or 5.5. It's just like, gosh, like what? I've often like just kind of dreamed they would just, because the 5.5 patch ends up being about 6 months between that and the expansion. I'm just like, why didn't we just have a 0.6? It's just, all right, here's 0.5, here's 0.6. Let's just call it what it is. But regardless, the part 2, like I hope that we get to see that, because in pasts, like that build up, you're right. Like we've been introduced to new characters that tend to be setting up, obviously, for the expansion. But yeah, knowing that Alphinaud is going to change to Sage, maybe we'll get some more of that storyline, or a hint into his quest to become a Sage or something like that. But that's what I'm looking forward to.
Be pretty sweet, Kronos. Like, I don't expect a whole lot. Like, this is the .5 is where we saw like Ardbert for the first time. Remember back in the killing or the end of the expansion, getting ready for the next one. I don't think we're going to have anything quite that big. I think most of the main players are in place already for both the protagonist and antagonist side of things going into 6.0, although you never know with Yoshi P. You never know.
I have a feeling someone might die. I mean, death's in the title of the patch.
I was gonna say.
I just feel like we keep dancing around death.
We
Yeah.
do. We do. Yeah.
Like,
and it usually doesn't last. So I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know.
Somebody
I
had
have
a Phoenix down. What can I say?
I really feel like if it's not before 6.0, sometime during 6.0, before the end of like that part, we're gonna have to lose a Scion, at least one
or two. I think there's gonna be major Scion changes.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen before 6.0.
We have been predicting that since the teases for
Mhm.
Heaven's Word, that there were going to be big Scion changes. And really, the
True.
only thing we did was we made some disappear for a little while, brought him back, and then we killed Minfilia. But oh wait, no, we really didn't. She's like just a super being,
Yeah.
and so we've gotten rid of her body. Who's going to die then?
I think if you're going to look at the candidates, it's going to be everyone who's had a close call up to this point. So, like, if you're going to sit here and say, I would say, obviously, like Thancred, he's on the line. He had his semi kind of heart, thing over on the first. Like, they could write that off being like, oh, it was his spirit and it's weakening on, with his physical body. So maybe he could be restored there. But I would venture to bet that anybody who's had that close call,
near-death experience,
experience is essentially out as the pool of possibilities that are going to either not make the cut or get cut down. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I guess we can count Grahatia in there then.
Mm-hmm.
He's had his near death on the first, technically as the Crystal Exarch.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to reach, we can count that as a near death experience since his essence came over. So then we got Thancred, Kronos. Anybody that you're thinking of since you brought up the idea?
I mean, what he's bringing up, you got to put Y'shtola in there, but I don't think they kill Y'shtola.
I don't think Y'shtola is going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, she's still the poster child for 14. I feel like my bet would probably be Thancred. I think Thancred's story is kind of like, I mean, he's done a lot of stuff now, and he's kind of closed all his loopholes. And so I think
you've got Minfilia gone, and for all intents and purposes, in his life, you've got Reen gone. Or Rain gone because she's over on the first and he's come back to the source and everything. So like he's come, nice full circle and has no girlfriends anymore and isn't a womanizer anymore. And really, I wouldn't be surprised if he kills Urianger on his way out though. Like, that has been brewing for a little while. That's been brewing for a little while.
Just complete speculation and theory at this point, but we do know with the raid being pandemonium, that being tied to hell, we don't know what kind of time and essence that would be. How poetic would it be for Thancred to die in the 6.0 expansion and then show up because of his connection with La Habrea from 2.0 in the raid series at some point as a kind of a final homage to, we can't really kill characters in this game. It's like, oh, it was emotional. And then it's like, oh my God, he's here. Anyway.
Let's take it a little bit of a different way too.
Okay.
You've got Estinian, who we know is coming back into the storyline at some point.
Yeah.
And is going to be available in the Trust, something that was in the announcement showcase. And Yoshi P did jokingly say, surely he's not going to betray us this time. So, I mean, there's another possibility as far as things getting wacky with some of the Scions. We'll see. We'll see. But all the usual stuff coming with the .5. We're getting the Sorrow of World quest line comes to an end with Diamond Weapon. I don't think there's any shock or surprise here. This was kind of foretold, and we knew where we were going with these. Will be an extreme version, so at least you'll have that, Adam.
Yeah,
it's a mount. I get a couple mounts actually.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Mounts.
You do. New dungeon. In the I'm not gonna pronounce this right, and I know it. I even copy pasted it just to make sure I spelled the damn thing right. I always thought it was Pogthon.
Yeah, don't go to me for your
Pogthon.
Pogglethon.
This new dungeon. Now we've kind of been in this area. This is like where the Amaljaw live. So we've been in this area. We kind of know what the architecture is gonna look like in there. When the near raid came up though, I thought this was interesting, and maybe this is me reading into things. I put it in the show notes. We'll get the opinions of you three fine gentlemen. I thought it was interesting they referred to it as the third chapter of the Nier raid and not the final chapter of the Nier raid. I thought that was maybe, slip of the tongue, and I'm reading too much into it, but I did think it was a little weird, Adam.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've kind of done that with Nier, though, right? Like, you've had those quests, like, in between every 24-man. And so, I mean, this is the third, like, major chapter, but it's probably not going to be the end. You're probably going to get some quests that come out in 5.5, I would imagine, to kind of, like, wrap up whatever story that they're telling.
You mean 555?
Yeah, 5.5.
5.5.
But yeah, I think that's probably what it is, and that's probably why it doesn't say final. Is that we're going to get those little small quests.
Just some
Then
little
I think
quests
it
at the
also
end.
prevents, Yoko Taro from like deleting the data centers. Like,
If
well,
we
it
tease-
never
no,
really
no,
ends.
We'll
It never
totally
really
do
ends.
another collaboration. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do another one. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
We
it.
need to replay it to get an alternate ending. Though.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. There's like, I think that would be super interesting to see them and say, hey, and by the way, now you can, or something of that nature. Who knows? I can say I have, and I've said this multiple times, I have not been connected to this raid series like I have the previous raids. Crystal Tower and Evil East being kind of like the two ones that I really enjoyed them, out of them. With this one, while I've enjoyed the fights, I've enjoyed like the level design. Ultimately, I'm just like, it just feels so disconnected from everything else that's going on because it's happening on the first, and it just doesn't seem to even fit in with the high fantasy aesthetic, right? It's like, oh, there's the technology and androids, and all right.
I mean, as a Nier, we've said it on this show too. We've all expressed this similar sentiment. I've put it in like, I love Nier. I love doing the raid. Fine, great. I don't want to do it over and over again, but every time, my first time through there, I thought these are neat fights, these are neat encounters, neat mechanics, stuff like that. But you know what? I think I'd rather just go play Nier. Nier is such a good game that the MMO version of it is not all that good when you compare it to the game itself. So
yeah,
I'm kind of in the same boat with you, and I know Tarkoth, you're in the same boat there with the whole Nier line.
Yep, you nailed the sentiment. If there's going to be a Nier MMO, let's make a Nier MMO. That'd be cool.
Let's just give me Dragon Quest X first.
yeah, I'm with
yeah,
you
there you
100%,
go.
Mike, 100% on that. Like, let's just localize that, please. Let's go, and then just make a Square Enix subscription, just so I can have
Yes,
one
please.
Yes.
in that world.
Yes.
That'd be
Like
great.
the old Sony Online Entertainment Station Pass.
Exactly. Just give
One
me one
sub to rule them all. Let's go to what else? Oh, we're getting a new Unreal, but and so here's, by the way, all the hosts contribute to the show notes, right? Like, I do the main outline of the show. But then if Kronos sees something, wants to add it, Tarkoth sees something, wants to add it, they're free to add it. And Brian, when he got the show notes, it says right at the top, if you want to add stuff, here's how you do it. Kronos and Tarkoth, you do not need to add that you want to talk about something that is already in the show notes. I deleted that note from the show notes.
I
I
only
was
put
like,
that.
we're going to talk about it. It's in the show notes. You don't have to put a comment on, I have a lot to say about this.
It was more just like warning, rant incoming. It was just more what it was.
This needs to be a point of emphasis.
Yeah, it was like, we're probably gonna spend more time on this than maybe you might think. Is more what I wanted to like convey.
Yeah, well, luckily, most of the live letter, since it's about the .5 stuff, it's just, hey, confirming exactly what we think we're getting. There's not really a ton of new info in this section of the live letter, except this piece that we will have a new Unreal. However, the Ultimate is getting delayed. And I know we've talked on this show about looking forward to this Ultimate for a while. And it's getting delayed into 6.1.
Ugh.
Which, if you map that out, you're like, okay, well, 6.0 is coming up, and then there's, 6.1. It's next. Yeah, but if you take a look, we got fall 2021 as the release for 6.0. If we peg fall as being late August through, let's say, late October, early November, we kind of guessed at September-ish being the date for this, but let's give them that whole season into November. Then that means the .1, usually 3 to 3.5 months after the expansion launch, puts this bad boy in February, March of next year. It puts it a full year away from now.
And it's typically not actually the .1, it's the .1 series, which could be .15 or something of that nature. So it's
could
like
then be another month
brutal.
to 6 weeks after.
Yeah.
Kronos, go ahead. I'm just going to give you your solo shot. All yours, brother. All of us we're looking forward to it, but I know you were looking forward to it the most.
Well, this causes like serious pain for my personal raid group, right? A lot of us are looking forward to it. It's what we do going into the patch. They made the decision to move it from 0.3 to 0.5, and a lot of people are upset about that. I agree with that decision, to be honest. I think it reduces dead time. That's just me. I know some people don't agree with that. It's upsetting, but I don't blame them. Really, a lot of unfortunate things happened. It just feels like we're losing an ultimate, and we're probably not going to gain one, which kind of sucks. I'm really hoping that Yoshi P tries to do 3 of these in 6.0, but I'm not going to like bet on it or bank on it. I just hope he tries. And I think that would, if they can somehow pull that off, I think that would be sick and probably make 6.0 the best expansion ever for me. Because Ultimate is like my favorite thing to do in the game. I mean, I know that's a very small percentage of people, but that's personally what I like.
It's small percentage of people who do it, but the people who watch and participate,
Right.
like as just fans, and the marketing potential behind it, that's also a loss. One of the things that where it's like going from the 0.3 to the 0.5 goes, typically the largest population and the biggest time for Final Fantasy tends to be from the 0.5 to the 0.1. That in and of itself is typically players will play the expansion. They might stick around for the 0.1, but they will come back for 0.5 and they'll play the 0.5 to the next expansion and through that. And that ends up being kind of like if you're just playing this game as like a single player game, that tends to be your main activity and that main the bandwidth. And so I was like, as a non-ultimate raider, thrilled for the ultimate in the 0.5, because not only do you have the hype of the trailers, the marketing, people on Twitch, streams, etc., and then all of a sudden you have this insane challenge, this hard content that just draws in eyeballs and then also pushes the game to the max. And like, if you're sitting here saying like, hey, come and do ultimate, like that is something that people who are like, is this game challenging? Is it just for, is it easy or no? It's like,
I heard that MMO is all about story. I heard it's just a story. I heard it's just another Final Fantasy.
And Ultimate isn't. It's like
it's not at all.
we're going to beat the crap out of you, and you're going to ask us for more. And it's so like as a non-Ultimate, I love watching that content, and I was so disappointed. Not blaming the team, because like it's extraordinary situation for everybody. We're all going through this, but man, that's just, I think, such a huge miss over this coming summer to have just that marketing piece of it all.
Tarkoth, you were expressing some sentiment there too.
Yeah, well, I'm not at Adam's level. I'm like right behind him.
Well, get at it, brother.
Yeah,
get at Adamzilla.
And that's what I'm kind of relieved, is that I'm not working on this new 4th one. I can now go back to the other 2 that I'm missing. So that's nice from my end. Being kind of a more mid-core raider. But I feel really bad for those high-end people, because even Savage, it's not going to come out till at best late October. So they had a last Savage in December, not going to get another one till October. Deliber Mujane kind of feels a little bit. That's really exciting content. I love watching it. I need to get into it myself, but yeah, their ultimate peak is now gone. And unless COVID stops being a major issue real soon, I don't see a way that they can get 3 ultimates in. I just don't. I think it's just gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out here and say something maybe not all that popular. Or maybe it is. Maybe you'll end up agreeing with me. We'll be surprised. I don't blame the team. I'm with you all on that. However, I do blame the team when it comes to prioritizing and choosing what gets developed and what doesn't. And we saw the Yoshi P's schedule and project management stuff, and I'm not talking about the day-to-day running of things. I'm very shocked that we are getting in 6.0 a small-scale PvP, and the ultimates are getting delayed. I'm kind of surprised. I'm not saying there is no PvP audience for 14.
I would go out on that limb. I would say that it is such a small PvP. I would say it's smaller than the raiding scene.
I don't understand how a new PvP mode, Kronos, got a little more prioritized over this. I have to believe that if I'm in charge of the project, looking at the audience, and this is, I hate Final Fantasy XIV PvP. You all know that. You've seen me talk with Happy on State of the Realm about how much I hate PvP. It's a running joke when I'm on that show.
It's been a joke since y'all were doing the original podcast.
Yeah, since XIV Reborn on Gamebreaker. Yeah, you're right.
They talked about PvP, and I was the only one left here by myself. Y'all both
I went outside and had a cigarette.
We both peaced out, and I made sure not to lock my door, and it was good.
I was kind of stunned when the ultimate got delayed, and then they said that was the reason, and I was sitting there looking at, a new PvP mode is being added in the expansion. I'm not sure why that wasn't the can that was kicked down the road, and the time spent on the ultimate, given the audience sizes. Even though the ultimate raiders, granted, small audience too, but Brian, to the point you made, a much bigger community audience. If the player base audience is tiny. And Kronos, you're kind of nodding, so I'm assuming you kind of are agreeing with me here.
It's upsetting, but let me throw you like a little hypothetical, right? So
toss it.
I think there's a lot of complexity to the decision too. It's possible that there's different teams for those things, right? And that
of course
one team got
absolutely.
So the PvP team was already working on this thing, and it had really nothing to do with the ultimate. And it just sucks that you see, because you could say the same thing about the Animal Crossing type deal that they're bringing in, and I think that's going to appeal to a ton of people.
And we've definitely said the same about Blue Mage.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I think we don't really know exactly how that stuff gets prioritized, what teams are working on what, and how it causes it. I also think the stat squish had a lot to do with this too, because imagine putting out an ultimate fight in a 0.55 patch, right? And now you have to take that third or fourth ultimate fight that you've created now and immediately change all the numbers and stuff going forward into 6.0. And I think they made that decision probably after because they obviously delayed the ultimate to the 0.5 and then probably made the stat squish decision. And then they had to look back at it and they're like, oh, we got to probably prepare for this as well.
Yeah, now we're going to pump an ultimate just to redo it basically from a back end perspective when 6.0 comes.
Yeah, so I really think, the more I thought about that, I really think that had a little bit to do with it too. And I think we need the stat squish, I'll be honest. So I'm not really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the tanking and the enmity problem, and it's so funny because it's described as a problem. I describe it as pointless, because it's who in the world is going to pull threat? I haven't seen anybody pull threat at all this expansion. Yeah. You turn it on, you're the hit. You're it. Even I've even seen, I'm like, why even have it? Just keep it on always. Let tanks have shirk, because that's a little bit more mechanical, but that's my old bias in that regards. But yeah, 100%. That I think that also helps set up the future, that there will be a 7.0 and there will be an 8.0. If they, from a narrative perspective, I can't not wait to see, we'll talk about it later in this show, but I can't wait to see where that goes. But this tells me they're setting up for more, because if they weren't, they just would hot fix that stuff, and then it'd be cool. All right, guys, Final Fantasy XIV 2 launches in 2023 or something like that.
You don't like to see it, but we all understand it.
Yeah.
Kronos, how about I'll throw you a bone. I'll throw you a bone, brother. I'll throw you a bone.
Okay. All right.
You don't get an ultimate, but get all the trial mounts in 5.x. You're gonna get the Mecha Dragon mount.
Yeah, I only got one to go. I just gotta get the one that's not out yet. Yeah. So yeah.
And you get a Mecha Dragon.
Mega
there
Dragon.
You go.
It looks badass. It looks badass.
How much are you guys willing to pay for the Lunar Whale?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. That's at the bottom of that's one of the last things, Brian.
All right. Well, serious guys. I want to come back to the topic of PvP, namely because Final Fantasy XIV needs something in that.
Yeah.
And the thing that Chris and I have always and long said, that it's either tell us what you want. Do you want a melee DPS? Do you when you would queue? All you get told is 30-minute wait. And you're like, F that. I'm not even if you're casually interested in the content, no, there's 1,000, I can go play 5 other games instantly and not have to worry about waiting in line for 30 minutes.
Chat says FF14 doesn't have PvP and it doesn't need it. /fixed.
I think I would disagree that I think it definitely needs it, and the COVID situation and the droughts in PvE content, PvP can fill that gap, but they have to like rethink the whole thing, and that's actually what they're doing. There's a chance that this new system will replace the feast. And the problem is that I'm so thrilled that they're not like, hey, a new PvP mode, and it takes 180 people. Well, great. There's only 5 people who are interested in this content. Let's make something for them and build out a culture around that. That's going to take time. That's going to take investment, and it's got to start early. And my hope with this is that we fix PvP in our own little group by removing healers altogether. You take healers out, and all of a sudden PvP was fast and fun. And I said, the only thing that this mode needs is giving everybody a tactical heal, the ability to like, okay, I'm going to use my saving throw to kind of change it up. But we had lots of knockouts, we had lots of movement, we had lots of tactical time, and it was just a fundamental blast removing that one element. And that's actually what they're doing. They're taking out the roles, they're giving everybody self heal. I'll be interested to see what they do with healers, and hopefully this ends up being kind of a fun piece of content that people can partake in, and we can start to build out a culture there. I know that a lot of people argue, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong for saying that PvP needs just to be deleted.
Oh, I will. I hate PvP, and I especially hate PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't think it's implemented in a reasonable way. Not. I don't think.
Not at all.
But yeah. I am, all joking aside, I do understand from a audience standpoint, from a design standpoint, you need a PvP. If you can get it in the game, you should have a PvP aspect. That's your evergreen content.
The problem with
that is the content that you don't have to pay thousands of man and development hours to pump out the next patch to have it absorbed in 3 weeks and then your player base is gone. That is the evergreen content.
The problem,
so I understand it. I just don't think it's well done.
Oh, it's not. The problem that it faces is that this, like, when PvP is done right in an MMO, it's done from a foundational game design thing. 14 has been putting it in at the top, like putting it in kind of as an afterthought, like we're checking a box. And so what this mode needs to do, it needs to kind of break it down and just make it accessible and fun and rewarding. And if they can do that, then you can, because they have to build a culture. Like, I get where Chad is. Every time we had, like, if I've had people come talk to me like, hey, I want to be the PvP guy for Final Fantasy XIV. I go, that is not a community that like is looking for content. Like, go for it. I would love to watch some stuff on PvP because I like PvP, but I go play Destiny for PvP right now. Like, that's where 14 was like, why would I waste time here? There's no foundational system. And so Mike, you're 100% right. I'm hoping that this is the start of building out a culture that can start to.
They've never did it. They've never done it right, and you're dead on with the idea of why it wasn't in 1.0. It wasn't in 2.0. It came later in the 2 cycle, right? I think that's when
it didn't
first got implemented. It was tacked on so late that it was almost the feeling of all MMOs have PvP. We should have PvP.
Yeah,
I agree that most MMOs should have a PvP aspect or a competitive aspect of some type. That's your free player base will always come back, Kronos. They'll just keep doing that while you develop and develop away. But that doesn't mean that every MMO needs it. And the way it was done in Final Fantasy felt like, and that's why I give it the biggest flack all the time, is I feel like you added this just so you could say it had PvP in it.
Yeah.
Not because you thought PvP was going to do really well in the game.
I think that's totally what they did. I mean, Wolves Den was awful.
Yeah.
Honestly. They've come a long way since Wolves Den.
They've done better. They've done better, but like there's no like seasonal or like statistics, right? Like when I go play like Call of Duty, every match it's like, here's how you did prior, here's like these numbers, and you can look at your stats. And like I'm a stats guy. That's actually what I would love to see actually in the PvE side. I've long been a proponent of not just more stats, but it's like I've just started parsing and like kind of just seeing where I fall, because people would be like, your opinion doesn't count because you don't X parse. And it's like, all right, fine, I'll go do it. Oh, it turns out I'm a purple parse. in 500 gear, I bet I can get into. I think I can get higher. So I'm kind of trying to push myself a little higher in that regards. But the at the core of it, like even I believe in competitive, even in PvE, meaning you're competing against yourself and competing against your friends. Like I'd love to see like month over month, like who got more kills or who ran more dungeons or who got some kind of artificial score that means nothing, but against me and my friends or me and my free company. It's just like that is what I actually even call PvP, even though it's not like me actually fighting you. It's just like bragging rights in that regards. And I would love to see a gamification of that. But that system design would be like, hey, Square, please go spend $5 million and build a system that I'm sure people are going to complain about regardless.
Yeah, it's so funny hearing that though, because like all the things you said you just wanted there, Yoshi P would turn around and say, we don't put that in the game for a very particular reason.
Yeah.
Toxicity.
And then it already exists.
Which already exists and will always exist. But to be fair, flip side, Final Fantasy XIV is generally known for having a better community than most other MMOs. If you go on Twitter, if you go on stuff like that. If you go check their Reddit, check the Reddit, not so much, gang. I mean, those ones are the best community ever. Go read the Reddit. It might not be the best community.
That's like Reddit is such an interesting piece of the puzzle because it's that like
it's fascinating.
There's what we call the Sprout obsession within 14. Like anybody's like, I'm checking this game out. Like you will be loved and supported. And then if you have a slight idea, like, like I really like this. It'd be really cool if they had another fight.
Get out.
Get the out. We're gonna kick your ass. Like, how dare you? This is, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, wait, what happened? And it happens so often that it's like I talk with people. I'm like, okay, your first mistake was posting on Reddit. And let's just acknowledge that, like, I mean, we're all in our own ecosystem, we're all in our own echo chamber and bubbles. So it's like that's that system. So you can engage, you can watch. It's just Reddit.
Kronos, you were trying to chime in there. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say that also happened with the Ultimate too, because like people were complaining on Twitter because they were upset, and right, like they have a right to be upset, right? They wanted something and it got taken away, even though they're not blaming anyone. And so you had a lot of people coming out. It's like, you don't have any right to complain. You're just 1% of the community. Like, yeah, but like, it sucks. Like we're just,
that's also not the way being a customer works.
And I don't think anybody was like, F you Square, you suck. Like it was more just like, man, we were really looking forward to that, and now we don't get it. And it kind of sucks. But
yeah, it sucks that you can't go and express that and not get attacked.
Yeah.
In that regards, and that's
because I want everybody to be happy. Like even if like you're just playing the game, like I don't ever want to attack a community inside the game. Like everybody plays the game for very different reasons, and they have a right to be happy playing the game the way they want to play it. I'm a raider. I actually vibe with a lot with what you were saying with parsing. Like I parse myself. I don't ever want to use that to like make other people look bad. But when I get oranges and stuff, I want to try to do better than that every time. When we raid every week and we're re-clearing, we're competing against each other for fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. My raid group of 8 people, it's like, oh, I got a 95, you only got a 92, and we're not putting each other down. We're just like, that's how we banter with each other. And that's fun for us to improve every week. And when we have a week where we don't perform very well, we're not very happy. That's just how it is.
The problem I see within that, and within Yoshi P's answer, where I disagree with them, is that there is a parsing community. Generally, they're actually pretty non-toxic. And what you end up having is you have a situation where you have the haves and the have-nots. And what is really missing from 14 that would benefit, I think, a lot of the community is when you look at what FF Logs does with FF Analytics. And that analytics telling you, hey, did you know you missed an OGCD of this skill? It just feeds you some information that the game isn't. And so when you look at where the toxicity comes into play, it's like, I'm not using this to beat anybody up. I'm using this to better myself. My wife's the same way. She got bullied out of 14. And like I have, like I was not happy about that. But when we would play together, I stopped parsing at that point because it did, like, there's nothing in this game outside of the like Savage that it matters. Like you could face roll on all the content after you get at least somewhat decent gear. So it's not like a matter, but I like to challenge myself. But she'd have me parse her all the time so we could get some data on her so she could work on improving herself, because she never wanted to be slowing anybody down. Like, that's not her personality. I think that's generally the majority of the player base. Like, you don't want to be doing bad, but the game isn't giving you the details. So we've created a system that does that. And so we've actually created a system in which that you have a group that doesn't have that ability, and it's not fair to them. And it's unfortunate that that's the answer and the stance Yoshi P takes, in my opinion.
Tarkoth, where do you weigh in on all of this?
Well, I'm one of those have-nots. Being a console player, it's rough because I want to do better, but I can't see myself.
I know a
how I'm
dude that
doing.
makes some
It
guides
sucks.
for your controller if you need some help. I'll give you his name after the show. I don't want to plug it while we're live.
We don't need to plug those randos.
I don't want to plug it while we're live. I'm sorry, Tark. Go ahead.
So I do the best that I can with what I have, and it's another reason why I just stick to healers for the most part. Did everyone stay alive? Okay, I did my job.
Mhm.
But I mean, if I had a DPS meter, if I could be part of that community, then maybe I would dip my toes into tanking, into DPS. But I don't feel good because I don't know how I'm doing.
I don't even want it live. Like, I don't even care for the real time number. Like,
Yeah.
I like the at the end of it, like at the end of Call of Duty match. Like, hey, here's how you
End
did.
of a boss.
And the end of the boss, like, here's how you did. Like, that's, oh man, that's great. Here's how you did relative to your job. Like, here's that, like, you know, and it's just like, that is the information that I crave. I'm a baseball nerd. Like, give me stats, give me give me all the information, allow me to like be excited about it. And that's why I actually like what we have in PvP, because at the end of the match tells me how I did. But I just would love to see it match over match, and same thing with PvE.
Right.
And then I don't even care, like, the only thing I don't like about, and I can turn it off, and I do, but even when I upload it, like, it'll say other people's names. I'm like, I don't even care how anybody else did. I just want to know me. Like, that's all I want to focus in on.
I just want a personal DPS meter, something that I can see for myself.
How'd we get on this topic? Oh, the Mecha Dragon Mount. That's
Mecha
right.
Dragon Mount.
That's how we
Mecha
got
Dragon
on
Mount.
this topic.
Derail.
That's how we got into parsing. Right. Okay. No, it makes total sense. Total sense. I get it. Last thing though, before we get to the meat and potatoes here, PS5 version, digital only. Which, okay, you know, I'm a little surprised by the not seeing boxes in the stores for potential new players, shoppers, but who the hell goes to a store anymore? And you'll get a little code. I did think this was kind of neat, though. You won't need the, if you're upgrading from your PS4 discs to your PS5, you won't need the discs anymore. That's awesome.
Yes,
That is
solid,
really awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's maybe because PS5 is backwards compat, where PS3 and PS4 were so different.
Yeah.
So total pro move.
Yep.
This was part of it when they moved from 3 to 4. I didn't have to use my disc for a year plus, but then when I got my PS4 Pro, I needed to.
We had to use the discs
do a hard
again.
install. Yeah.
Then we had the announcement showcase. Although I shouldn't say then, because that was technically before the live letter stuff. So we had the announcement showcase. We, of course, did the live showing. Thanks for coming out for that. And everybody's watching that on YouTube. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you put it up.
Yeah, I did. I put it up as an unofficial, unnumbered episode of the Relic Grind. So it's there on YouTube if you weren't able to make it live. But, I mean, I guess there's really only one place to start with this one, right? I mean, I guess we just kind of
Lunar Whale. Start there.
Yeah, start not that.
Start with
right there. There we go. There. You like that, Kronos?
That's messed up, man.
We just start right there with the ultimate delayed slide. Oh no, I mean the trailer.
Oh, my God.
My bad.
I forgive you. It's all good.
Endwalker is the name. Fall 2021 release window. Wrapping up the Hydaelyn Zodiac story as of 6.0. Not taking it through the expansion. 6.0. End of the road that we began all those years ago with 2.0's launch. Pretty exciting. Obviously, I'm just going to let the trailer roll here. It was such a fantastic trailer. Let's get gut reactions to just the show itself, the expansion, the name. Let's get some gut reactions on that. We'll start with you, Tark.
I loved Endwalker, and I want to start off with the music. My God, Soken just nailing it. He's hitting it out of the ballpark on all fronts. I've even seen a guitar cover. I've listened to this music. I guess a couple hours. It's just so good. He's amazing. We're going to the moon. During the announcement, my hands were in the air, but at the same time, I heard this audible sound from across the ocean of an Ethis going, "No."
Well, you did call that we were. You thought we'd be going to the moon or seeing the moon in some capacity. So that would be credit where due, and we gave you that credit on the live reactions stream. Kronos. Obviously, all three of us were like 8-year-olds grinning ear to ear through most of the show. Brian, I saw some of your stuff the exact same way. I saw videos of you afterwards, like the next day, and you still had this 4-year-old smile on Christmas Day on your face.
We were so tired the night before, though.
Gut reactions now that you've had, for all of almost a week to absorb all of it. Are you still as ear to ear grin?
Yeah, I'm so happy. The only disappointing part was that Alpha wasn't a chemist. Everything else is sick.
Well, chemist or not, like I love that it's like healer and it's like Sage. I think Sage is actually a much better choice over chemist, but I was like, I definitely was on the chemist train. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy either way. Like I think the trailer is ridiculously good. Even though I didn't get the class that I maybe wanted, but
Paladins in space.
Sorry. And you get like the I think there was something we didn't bring up, but like there's even more Final Fantasy IV here, right? Like we were a Dark Knight and now we're a Paladin.
Yeah,
like that's kind of cool. That's really cool.
Going to the moon, lunar whale, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of cool things happening in the trailer, even though it's like only 2.5 minutes. And like Tarkle said, I've listened to this music probably like for an hour plus. It's such a good track. Like I'll just watch the trailer in the background while I'm playing the game, and just to listen to the song.
You bring up the 4, and obviously we're seeing a lot of 4 references in here. And you bring up the fact, Kronos, of discovering things later, right? After everybody's had a chance to frame by frame the trailer and rip apart all the slides and compare notes and get with the internet hive mind. And here we're seeing what might look like the Magus sisters.
Oh, dude!
Hiding in the moon stuff that was shown in one of the presentational pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of hiding in there. I mean, there's nobody else that could be, right? There's no question that's the Magus sisters. I still hope we see Zemus, of course, right? That's who I want to see. I want to see Zemus. I still think we're going to see the Hummingway. That will be one of the beast tribes based on the moon, I think. So I just loved it. Brian, I'll give you a few minutes. I mean, you have multiple videos that I'm sure people have watched for your opinion, but just for people that maybe aren't familiar with you, your take on the event and the initial reveals of stuff.
It's really quite powerful because like we were said at the top of the show, like you and me, like we're OG like content creators around Final Fantasy XIV. And there is this just beauty of the journey. Because like you were talking about 2.0, it's like it really, the Hydaelyn Zodiac thing stretches back to 1.0 in certain degrees, not as extensively in our face until 2.0 as to what was happening there. But this, I'm really curious, really excited by just the sheer fact that the story ends at the end of the expansion. And I've got some theories. I'm not going to drop them here because I would hate to spoil it for anybody who is still catching up. But maybe like, that as we get closer, like maybe Loose Lips will sink ships or something like that. But
we'll certainly have you on again if you want to come on. You're welcome anytime, my friend.
I love talking about Final Fantasy. It's like, all right, that's why I do what I do.
Let me ask you this though: we all like the idea of the storyline wrapping up at 6.0 because we want to see the conclusion of the story. One of the concerns Tarkoth, Kronos, and I expressed though during the announcement showcase was, does that make the 8-person raid tier feel a bit weird then?
I think it's got to be a pocket dimension or some kind of like...
Yeah, it's got to be an offshoot of something.
We're going to hell.
Yeah. Well, in a way, like it could exist outside of of time. It could exist in the sense that like, that's something that like persists. Like that's why I think 6.0 will end with this shifting of like, oh, wow, like this, they changed a lot. Like where you're like, holy crap, guys, like it's a whole, like, anyway, it's a whole new world or something like that. Who knows? But like the Pandemonium sounds interesting in that regards. Obviously, they showed off La Habrea. We can talk about
Habrea, yeah.
La Habrea is technically dead. and that would be interesting to see. And his mask is only half of it in this case. Pandemonium historically representing for Final Fantasy II's like Final Dungeon, representing Hell. It could be some kind of form of afterlife, could be some other pocket dimension, could be what happens in the afterwake of this. I think
we've seen it in FF9, we've seen parts of it in FF11 as well.
Exactly.
So it's definitely a recurring theme. Let's go back though. We've got the trailer playing because we're gonna get to the raid here. And again, I don't want to go on for days here. Let's go back just a second. We talked about the new job and possibly hoping that we get to see Alphino at least start this transition in 5.5. We see Alphino the Sage. So let's play that trailer while we're talking here. Brand new healer. We did not get the second class, but we did get that it will be a melee DPS. Hold that thought for a second. I want everybody's gut reactions on Sage. Go ahead, Kronos, being the ultimate healer.
Hey, Tarkov's cleared an ultimate with a healer.
One.
Yeah. But I thought it looked pretty cool. The only thing that surprised me was the name itself. It almost felt like they kind of just grabbed a classic job and they were like, it's a Sage. But other than that, I think the animations look really cool. I like that it seems very different from what we have. And I'm excited to see more of it going forward. So,
do you like going forward the categorization, even in party queues or party finders and stuff, of barrier healer versus
they had to make a change. They had to make a change, and there's things they haven't said yet, but you could probably already allude to like Noxec's probably going to get removed from Astro, because they're going to it's going to be a pure healer. So I think it just makes sense if that's how they want to divide it, and that's how they decide to balance. So I mean, I think I'm fine with it, and I think they'll probably do a good job of it.
I know you're not generally known for healing, Brian, but you do dabble. Does this have any appeal for you?
Yes. Yeah. So like I typically always kind of phase myself as having one tank, one healer, and one DPS. And so over the course of this expansion, I have abandoned Summoner, and I've abandoned Scholar, and I've taken up White Mage, Gunbreaker, and Black Mage as kind of like my kind of main three. And as I've started getting into parsing, I've actually just started recently, the last like couple weeks, really hardlining White Mage, which has been just a lot of fun. And so in that regard, it's like I am thrilled for Sage. I'm also thrilled because one of the things I think really hit healing hard in Shadowbringers was the removal of the benefit of having one shield healer and one pure healer. And since they kind of gave those tools to everybody, we saw a massive homogenization and a migration to White Mage. I think White Mage clearly just continued to be the preferred healer, the dominant preferred healer. Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, you can heal with Astrologian. Oh, yeah, you can heal with Scholar, but like it just feels differently. This, I think, will help bring a little bit of balance into the healing force because they're not going to have to balance 4 healers. They're going to have to balance Astrologian versus White Mage, and they'll have to balance Scholar versus Sage. And so then from like if one is clearly the winner, then they can go and like tweak the other one. And it's going to kind of need to have that meta back because we kind of had that with White Mage Scholar, and then when they introduced Astrologian, it kind of had that flip between. And then with Shadowbringers, I think they hurt healing overall with this last expansion. So I'm thrilled to see a fourth, and I can't wait to see how it plays. I'm honestly like from the trailer, I'm like I'm gonna that's definitely gonna be something I pick up.
Yeah, and I Kronos, I told you this when we were talking about it, that yeah, I keep a White Mage at 80, but it's mostly to truck friends through stuff and do oddball stuff. It's nowhere ever near the top tier of gear in any given patch. This does make me want to try this.
That's cool. I think a lot of people have fun with your healer queues when this drops.
Yeah. But Tarkoth, for you, does this change your main?
Oh, absolutely. Just on the weapon itself, I'm tired of that book. That book is so dumb. You can only do so much with it. And
would you love to see them like fully split Summoner Scholar this next expansion?
That's going to take some major retooling. And I thought, I don't know how they do it. And if they can get that done, then you just chop out classes altogether.
That'd be nice.
And you're a White Mage from the beginning to the end. So that would be nice. But they would have to do some major retooling to get those split. I am excited for Sage and the split in general, because as Brian said, this is going to bring some balance. With Astro, ever since its inception, it's always been that redheaded healer. Yeah, we get the buffs, but it doesn't know what it wants to be. And they've always had troubles balancing it from its inception. So now that they can have two separate roles, one pure healer, one barrier, like Brian said, you can bounce Sage off of Scholar. And as long as you got the barriers where you want them, then that's good. And then you can bounce Astro versus White Mage and not really affect the other two. So this helps them, and I'm glad they're finally doing it. And then, having the meta where you have one barrier, a pure healer, I think that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're still going to probably get a little bit of that homogenization. I know a lot of people aren't
A
super
little
happy
bit.
with it.
But it's not as much as it is right now.
Because my guess is what they're going to do is, you have Astros like your buff healer, but they're now pure. And then White Mage is your damage output healer, but they're pure. I think they're going to turn Scholar probably. They're going to give them a couple more buffs. And then this is probably going to be your damage shield healer.
Yeah, I think you got it absolutely right, Kronos, is that you'll see like one's more utility focused and one's more damage focused.
Yep.
And so you can then, you can kind of then choose. And I think from a meta perspective, if it comes down to it, you'd end up having, just like you have like Red Mage versus Black Mage, you have one that's for, prog, and then you have one for farm. It's like, okay, if we ain't dying, let's bring a little bit more damage and get this thing done.
Yep.
Sure. And I don't think we're losing. I don't think we're losing Nocturnal and Diurnal. I think they'll be buffs. Like one buffs the pure raw healing. The other one buffs the heal over time. Maybe
it'll be
something
interesting
of that nature.
Yeah, they have a lot of ways they can go with it. My guess is they probably get rid of Noct and still keep neutral, and that'll be like your access to some Nocturnal stuff. But I don't know. They could go a different way. They could want to like just get rid of shields altogether from Astro to kind of leave them alone with their shields over on the other side. It's hard to say.
Especially whenever they add a new job to any kind of particular role, it's like you really kind of get we're kind of getting 4 new healers. There's going to be some similarity, but when they added Dancer, like you saw, like, well, some of the stuff that Bard used to do is now over in this category, and there's usually a shuffle. So if anybody out there is a healer main, just make sure you got a couple leveled. So right now, like if you just straight up did White Mage, maybe have a Scholar in your back pocket, just in case you don't like the new Sage or you don't like the changes to White Mage or Astro for that matter.
Your other choice when the expansion launches, which we won't know officially until the May Digital Fan Fest, what the job is a melee DPS. And if we put together some of the hints, of course, Yoshi P and his wardrobe providing a lot of Death and Reaper references as he did the announcement showcase. We've also seen a scythe in some of the scenes, particularly by Xenos. Not only that, we've seen other characters use scythes before, but I don't think the way they were used would be relatively indicative of a new class. They were more martial artists than scythe wielders. But we also know now, post-show, through multiple interviews, that the new class will share its armor slots with Dragoon.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I guess that.
Kind of providing, I think, everything we need to kind of think, a Reaper class of some type, wielding a scythe, going to town. Now, whether that'll be, necromancer flavored, possibly, or if it's just going to be straight beat the hell out of somebody with a scythe flavored, we don't know, but I'm sure everybody has speculation. I'm putting my hand up. I still want Necromancer. I don't think it's going to be Necromancer, but I do want Necromancer. I don't think this is going to be it, but it'd be cool. Where do you think, after 6 days now, Kronos, you've had time to reflect? Any guesses?
Yeah, I've gone pretty deep down this rabbit hole, honestly.
I think all of us have.
So I'm thinking more. So I think when he started talking about how
Kraken Club, oh my god,
how he wanted to spread the gear out, that makes me think how they're going to go jobs into the future too. Because I think that's why they didn't choose caster rates. Because Dragoon and now Ninja's one of the ones out there that only wears the one set. So that might be a candidate for the next one. But so my thought was, so we got Astro back in Heavensward, right? And that was kind of a one-off job in Tactics. And I think because they're pulling Sage here, they still want to pull some jobs that already kind of exist and then put their flavor on it. So I went back to Tactics and I'm thinking, I'm looking through, because the only scythe job we have in Final Fantasy lore is Dark Knight, which already exists in the game.
Which already exists, right?
So like I'm looking through, and I my guess, it's like a shot in the dark is Fell Knight. That's what I'm guessing, and it's gonna be a Scythe user. That's my guess.
Locking it in now.
Yeah.
With the right to change between now and mid-May.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably not right, but that's my guess.
What do you got, Tark?
I like that Fell Knight. That's nice. Nice pull. I'm going with Reaper as its name. Scythe wielder. Think Red Mage, but flipped. So it's more melee, and then your big hits are going to be in that magic, and that would fit Xenos too. Since he has the resonance, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the job. And would also be a nice antithesis to our job for the cover is Paladin. Something really offensive, really in your face, gonna try to blow you up. Reaper, Scythe, kind of like Red Mage. There's my picks.
Yeah, I'm kind of going with you. I thought maybe they would use the term Death Knight in this instance. Then I kind of figured, maybe they'll stay away from it just because of World of Warcraft and Death Knight there. And then culturally, they don't like to really use death in things in Japan. So I'm with you, more with you, Tark, than I think I am with you, Kronos. Brian, where do you fall on this whole equation?
So I love all the different theories, right? So like people are like following the band names and being like, okay, Templar, and then somebody was like, oh, they're all rock bands. Rock's like Earth, Earth's like Geomancer. And it's like,
oh my goodness.
I've seen Pirate. People talking about like, obviously with Reaper, like they're throwing us off with Reaper, and it's really like a pirate, and something like that. But obviously when it shares gear with Dragoon, I'm really excited for that. So I definitely agree. On the idea of either Necro or Reaper and that whatever they end up calling it. And I think that design wise, I could see it easily doing the opposite of Red Mage, very physical, up in your face. And then essentially maybe like where if it was kind of going to be inspired by Necro, it's not really a true pet class, but you work your way up and all of a sudden now you can kind of call out, like some monster or whatever to kind of fight next side you. And then kind of that goes back into the void. So it's almost like Machinist where it builds up to, its queen. And it's like, okay, cool. Here's that. And Dark Knight obviously has Fae. So it's like builds that up. So we kind of already have that kind of system. I think I'm really excited for, I would love to see that aesthetic in the game. I'd love to see sides in the game. So I'm definitely on the Reaper train, but I've been loving all the theories because like at the end of the day, like until they announce it, like it really, like he could be just
a guess.
With us,
the way he trolls is legendary in some cases. Yeah, I mean, I main black mage, but in Final Fantasy XI, I mained red mage for years. That was my main. Played black mage only because there was no red mage in version 1 and then 2.0. Swapped to red mage as soon as it became available. They add Necro. I don't know if you'll ever see my white butt in black mage or red mage gear again. I don't know. They add Necro.
It'd be great to have like a melee with a raise. That's what I'm
absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's like, let's have
they do that, and then Paladin needs a level 80 raise. So
100%. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna this will be like the rapid fire portion of the show because there's not a lot of information on this, but we got screenshots and concept art and stuff like that. So no real like heavy opinion-y stuff. Just want to get your gut reactions to some of the things we saw, like where we're going. Have it headed to Thavnair and Garlemald and the moon, and we saw the Matanga Beast tribe and another one teased as possibly being from the moon. We saw new dungeons that kind of fit one in each of the locales art style wise. What did you think of the look of everything? Oh, we got Anima, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We don't know how Anima fits in yet with anything, but we got Anima. I'm going to put that art up now while we talk about this for everybody because this is exceptional artwork made by the artist who did it for Final Fantasy X, but reimagined in a 14 style, and I think it's just tremendous art. Tremendous art. I don't think anything in this group of stuff was surprising. We all knew that these were the basic announcements that come with an announcement showcase or a fan fest had they been able to do them. But I don't think any of them were disappointing either. Like we all knew these were going to be the announcements, but we were still all over it. I got to say, my favorite out of all of this, I love some of the concept art for the moon locale. I think if I could have imagined as, you know, a whatever-year-old child playing Final Fantasy IV and being in the ruins on the moon, that art is exactly what my head made that 16-bit art look like. Like that is almost exactly how I imagined it. Was scary watching it. I can't wait to get there. Some of this stuff I think just looks incredible, Brian.
No, I completely agree. The what stood out to me is I love the fact that we're going to Thavnir. Thavnir's been a part of this world, and we keep interacting it through trade since 2.0. And the fact that we're finally stepping foot on it, especially when we went east and we saw, hey, there's Thavnir, and then it's like, yeah, we're not going
sailed right by it,
right past it. So I'm really digging the aesthetics. Like when you look at what they showed us throughout the entire presentation, it is so visually diverse. Like you have like an African Indian kind of influence and aesthetics. You got the void or void art kind of like aesthetics. You also have high machinery with the Garlemald like aesthetics. And so it's like from a dungeons perspective, it's like, you know, like, wow, like there's going to be a lot of visual changes because we are kind of hopping around here as opposed to where you look at the first, in which that everything was very high fantasy on theme. It was all connected there. This is like, okay, we're going here now. Oh, we're going over here now. We're going to the moon.
I do like having the more diversity. I'm going to be honest. The expansion that probably bored me the most was the one that had the most consistent theme throughout it as far as the art and the aesthetic was, and that was Stormblood.
Yeah,
Stormblood bored me from an art standpoint. Like, it's not that I don't appreciate the Eastern architecture and the style of the art and the color and everything. I did like it, but it was after you'd been in one zone, you had seen the rest of them. I don't think that's going to happen with this expansion.
No.
It's, and also from the trailer itself, and even like it just felt like it was way more colorful. Like it, I don't know, like they turned up the contrast and they're like, let's go.
Yeah, I don't think I've been this excited for zones ever in 14.
Yeah.
Like just knowing what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've wanted to go to Garlemald since I started playing the game. I think the moon, like you said, like I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I played like all the games, and playing 4 as a kid, it looks just like how I would imagine it, which is crazy to me.
It's stunning.
And Thavnir is a place like y'all said as well that has been basically teased to us for like 3 expansions, and we've never been there. So I think these are all like, they knocked these out of the park. I think that the fact that these are the 3 that they chose, I think everybody's excited to go to all 3.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if Moon's actually going to be a zone. I'm thinking of it more.
Well,
I'm thinking of it more in the Mount
Gold
Gold kind of vein.
They already said it is because they were talking, because in interviews they've already kind of talked about how they're going to deal with gravity.
Yep.
And they won't give a clear answer. So it's a zone for sure.
God, I hope we can jump higher. I would love that. That would be fun.
Anima looks amazing.
Anima
looks absolutely incredible.
I'm so happy that, like, obviously the connection with 10, you know, it's like being able to have that and have him on the team working on this. I'm like, great, awesome.
As far as other content pieces, we got info about Pandemonium. We've kind of already referenced some of these, so maybe there's no real new points that we're going to make here, but just in the interest of recapping it all for, you know, my mom watches the show, so I'm sure she might want to know. Pandemonium, the new 8-person raid, a few Final Fantasy references with that name we've already alluded to. The new 24-person raid, not a collaboration, which I am a huge fan of, a Final Fantasy XIV original. Small-scale PvP with no role requirements, a little more casual rewards other than gear, and, of course, Estinian being added to the trust. But Yoshi P teasing we might not know why. We can't tell you why.
He's going to be a Scion.
Well, Reen was your melee DPS. They did a new melee DPS, right?
Exactly.
Boom.
Last things I want your takes on, though. Is it time to guess, gentlemen? Put on those guessing hats. Here we go. The new Gold Saucer edition.
Blitzball.
Right. Okay, everybody thinks it's Blitzball.
It's
Next.
Blitzball. All right.
Island Sanctuary. Brian, I assume you think it's Blitzball too.
Yeah, like he was reading chat, and I thought he announced it. So like he was, I didn't know that he was like seeing what everybody else is saying. So I heard Blitzball, and I was like, I ripped off my headset. I was like, Blitzball!
No, he was reading chat.
I didn't know that, and then I came back, and they're like, "Oh, you're just reading chat." I was like, Man, that'd be cool.
Island Sanctuary, and I see this one coming up on Reddit as far as why are we doing this instead of Ultimates. We don't know a lot about it, but it's a little more laid back, maybe taking care of the land, feeling. I kind of get the Animal Crossing vibe,
exactly.
off
Animal
of
Crossing.
it. Animal Crossing in Final Fantasy XIV. No more belts. No more belts.
Yeah, and they kind of like we can't see them. I mean, so we haven't been able to see belts since 1.0. So
and that kind of goes with the whole number squish, right? Yeah, it's a needless slot. And if we're gonna squish the numbers, we've wanted to get rid of belt for a while, but we need a reason to get rid of it. We're doing a number squish. Let's take the opportunity and get rid of it, I guess.
It's actually about memory management with the
big time. Big time.
Yeah. So when they said, hey, we're taking rid of belts, I go, they're adding more armory chest slots to the weapons and the rings, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're sitting on 5, which he said, which I believe are future jobs. So it's like they're doing that because they instead of having to either change how the core engine is, they were out of memory on the armory chest,
on the inventories.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, how do we do this? Belts are technically pointless. And so, yeah, I think that's the right move. Just cut out belts. Let's go. More space.
I'm surprised they didn't get rid of job stones. I feel like that's just kind of
if they cut classes, that's a huge memory, clawback right there, because you get job stones back, but you also the game keeps your job and your class UI, hotbar settings, and all that.
So free up so much.
Oh man, that's where it's I'm wondering if it's not 6.0. I'm at some point they're gonna be like, no one's on classes anyway. Let's just claw that back and
I did like for the Sage, by the way, that the slide said no class requirement. We were like, why do you keep putting that there?
Yeah,
that's been the standard since 3.0.
And I think it's just Summoner Scholar is the only thing that's holding that up. If they can get that fixed, they can chop out a lot of extra stuff that they have to keep in memory and saved.
Yeah.
What else do we got? We talked about the number squish. Oh, data center travel.
Oh yes.
I don't know if I'd be this happy about this one, Brian. I don't think it's going to work the way people want it to. I
don't either.
Yoshi P was extremely careful in this, and even Koji Fox was when he did the translation. He said, there's already restrictions on traveling now. This might have even more restrictions.
Yeah.
But at least you'll be able to go with your friends, take pictures and stuff. I think instance content is totally out.
Oh, if that's the case, then that's going to be
no party finder.
Yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't get too happy about this one. I have a feeling that when you specifically say you'll be able to go visit your friends, walk around, take pictures, where the hell did you get take pictures from as being the reason I might want to go see my friends on their world? If that's one of the list of 5 things I can do. I have a feeling there's going to be severe limitations. They even said more than we currently have with the travel we have.
Okay. If that's the case, then that's going to be a bummer. Because if you can run content and do things with people, well, that's going to open up the community.
I think they specifically would have said, go do a dungeon or something.
I'm worried
to pull out of the hat, go take a picture with your friend. That's an odd thing to pull out of the hat.
I'm worried about it too, but it like Brian said, it would be game changing if they can pull it off. Could you I'm a raider, man. Could you imagine the raid scene if I can party find across every data center? It would be so easy to find parties for everything.
Yeah, no doubt. No, don't get me wrong. I absolutely want it to be that.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying.
I just think they were so ultra careful the way they were talking about it that it's just not going to be that.
If it's a start to a rollout, meaning
I think that's what it is,
and then in a couple of months we're gonna keep working on it. That I think I'd be happy with that. But if that is as limited as you say, or we theorize here, as long as they give us a roadmap, so that it's not is it going to have these features? Yeah. And UHP comes out and say yes, but 6.2, it's something where it's okay, fine, yeah, Absolutely. This exists. And we're testing it and we're making sure it's stable, because nobody wants to be hey, thanks for this feature. The game don't run no more.
It don't work. Nothing works anymore. It's all broke.
Yeah.
So I assume everybody on the panel here is getting the 8-person whale mount. You and 7 friends.
Si, senor.
Getting the lunar whale.
I'm willing to do that and the minions for probably max 150 out of pocket, but That's just like that's my max. Like
I don't think you're gonna pay that.
I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but I wanted that bad. Like
if you did the 3 fan fests, which is the packages they used to do, right? If you did those, it was what, like $25, $25, $25. So you had like $75. I think one was $30, which would put you at $90.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see this thing being any more than $70, $75. The whole little fan fest package.
I think it's gonna be $50.
You think it's 50? Yeah,
that's my guess. That's what I guess, but
that was my guess, 50.
We don't know the price of that yet, but if you do want to go and take a look at some fan festival commemorative merch,
oh hell yeah,
Mr. Montoya did want me to let you all know that it is available. We've got 4 different shirts, a couple different figures, so you can head on over to the Square Enix store, that wonderful piece of software, and get yourself some fan merch. You pay $25 just for that mount. I think you're going to pay more than that.
Oh, I'm dropping like half a paycheck. Like Hades t-shirt. I'm getting that damn hoodie. That thing's sweet. I'm getting the 3 miniatures, and they're re-releasing some of the art books. So I'm gonna get those for some minions as well.
I got them all back here. Well, 2 of them are over there too. So they
Not
come with
getting the music.
minions. I gotta buy the stupid things. They came with minions. In other Square Enix news, we normally cover a lot of other Square Enix stuff. Really, we've gone long anyway. And that's fine. But I did think we should mention that there might be a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Remake news coming out this weekend. Maybe. As director Motomo Toriyama shared that, hey, the Final Fantasy VII Remake orchestral concert is this Saturday in Japan. And we might have some news there. Now, since it's a Japan-only thing, I don't imagine that the news is going to be like earth-shattering Final Fantasy VII Remake news, but
it's going to be PS5 and Steam, I bet.
Yep, that's where I was going. I hope it's not true. I hate the separation, but I feel that Xbox not going to get PS5 or Final Fantasy VII.
I think you're right. The Xbox is definitely not going to get PS5. I think you are dead on there, my friend.
Thank you.
Let's slide over and finish it up with a little segment we call Love It or Leave It. This is the segment of the show where I give all of the hosts a topic, a item, a game, a press release, basically anything I want in the realm of the Square Enix world. And you tell me whether you love it or leave it. And, of course, you can leave your comments on our YouTube channel or on ReadyCheckRadio.com. The URL's right in my lower third there. Today, we've already kind of danced around this topic in both positive and negative ways, so I figured it'd be a nice time to lock it in with Love It or Leave It. Brian, you're the guest. You get to go first. The topic, of course, being PvP in Final Fantasy XIV specifically.
Are we talking about the new announcement or just...
We're talking about PvP in general in Final Fantasy XIV. You personally love it or leave it?
Leave it.
Care to elaborate, or is it just that simple?
I am obviously hopeful for whatever is coming, and I really hope that they knock it out of the park. I think that will be good to help build out that culture. But if you were saying how it exists right now and how they've gone before, no, like I don't participate in it. I don't think it's worth the resources as it exists today. I want to see that change, but right now I would say, sorry, you've had your shot.
I don't think anybody needs my answer. They all know what it is. We'll go to Kronos here.
You don't love it? I thought you loved it.
Me? You talking to me?
No. I thought to Mike.
Oh, you thought I loved it? Okay, cool. Well, that's our show for today. I got to talk to Kronos after the show. See if Brian wants to be a regular host now, because Kronos don't work here anymore. No, go ahead, Kronos.
No, so I'm gonna take it like a different angle, I guess. Like, I love the idea of it being in the game in some fashion.
It's like I love the idea of it.
I've done like three seasons of Feast, and I actually kind of like Feast, but there's definitely a lot wrong with it, and I'm hoping that they fix a lot of stuff. And I do enjoy the occasional PvP with some friends queuing up into like more casual stuff. It's fun, but there's a ton of problems with it, and it needs to be fixed. But I want it to exist in 14. So that's
Targoth totally stealing someone else's material. This is what I do on State of the Realm when Happy and
sorry.
Sly bring up PvP. I sit there and smoke.
What's up? Hey, steal from the best.
Oh, you flatter, sir. You really do. It'll get you everywhere, I hear. It'll get you everywhere, I hear. So I'm going to
still
go
in the
with that's a leave it, right? That's a leave it.
What is this thing?
Exactly.
I'm hopeful.
Exactly.
I'm hopeful. I think kind of arenas 2s and 3s with the no rolls would be very interesting, and maybe incorporate some crowd control elements. But yeah, overall, leave it.
Fair enough. That's a clean sweep on this panel. Predictable clean sweep. I thought the only person I might get to say love it was Brian, because he just dabbles in every little bit of content and always has like the positive spin on every bit of content, even if it's not for him. But even Brian was like, nah.
When the new system comes out, I'll reevaluate. It needs to have like some kind of holistic setting with the game, and I'm glad they talked about how it not being just pure gear focused. So like I'm going to give it its fair
absolutely.
shake. Yeah. I'm going to definitely give it its fair shake, but it's like, hey, trust us. We've built, you haven't like,
anyway. We will see. Anyway, gang, that's our show for today. We will be back normal schedule next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, right on ReadyCheckRadio.com or twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. Brand new, just got started as we headed into the holidays there. So hope you enjoy the content. The Snowbound Show for everything Blizzard, our gaming weekly wrap-up show, Gaming Gumbo, and all the streamers who volunteer their time on all various consoles, games, and during times of the day. Follow, head on over, hang out and chat, and of course tell your friends. We'll be back next week, but until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Yeah, same as always. If you want to see me be sad about Chemist and Ultimate Rage, there's a Twitter right there below.
Tarkoth.
Twitch and Twitter, Tarkoth Gaming, and here on Saturday nights playing Dragon Quest XI still. Wrapping that up at Ready Check Radio.
You're getting close. You're getting close.
Ooh, such a good game.
That's his first ever playthrough, too.
Oh, Tune in. It's late for you, though. It's late
Absolutely.
For you. Yeah, that's always the hard part. Like, it's like, especially with the little one, it's like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. Let's go to sleep while we can.
Yeah.
Any kind of time so absolutely.
Brian, it was an absolute pleasure, my friend. I'm so glad we were able to work it out with schedule-wise and get you come and do it. You're always welcome back. But where can everybody follow you? Give them all 400 projects.
Absolutely. If you guys are interested in more Final Fantasy content, I'm a big fan. Played 11, been playing 14. And you can find that with Chris and I over at Work to Game. We like to talk about the game, what's going on with it, look at what the community's talking about, give our perspectives and things like that. So it's a discussion channel. We also put out guides over there. And then for anything else that I do, like I really love multiplayer RPGs, Phantasy Star Online 2 being one of the real big one. Outriders is coming out. So I post a lot over on Ginger Prime as well. And that's kind of my personalized channel. And then I have a podcast channel called Ginger Gaming Radio, in which we are trying to spin back up, at least a weekly show. So I have Epic Loot Radio, which kind of focuses on that looter, that Destiny, that Outriders, that Division, whatever. It's like we're killing things. PSO makes
whatever you're playing that night.
Whatever we're playing that night. So we've been having a lot of fun. Just making lots of content, and I'm just happy with the response. People seem to like hearing my take and calling me Bill Murray in the comments. So it is what it is.
It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. Make sure you check them out. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there on Twitter at Magic Man, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO, and get news and tweets on all the latest from our podcast to our streamers to our schedules. And sometimes I just throw out some fun stuff because I'm bored and want to talk to you. Until next week, gang, stay safe. See you on the servers.